2023. A lot of stuff to cover today. It's going to be fun. Some very unique, or not unique, but helpful questions that a lot of people probably have. And I'm excited to answer them. Before I do, just some announcements. First of all, we have a podcast out today on Wits and Weights, episode 129. And it's titled Why Passively Consuming My Podcast is Getting You Nowhere with Carl Berryman. Carl's on for the third time. And this is a pretty cool one because it's definitely related to a lot of what you guys are doing, guys and ladies are doing with fitness, in that, like me, you probably have a lot of podcasts that you listen to, a lot of things that you consume, and maybe you're not getting the most out of all that content. How can you? How can you more focus the information and take advantage of it and take action on it? And Carl talks all about his mental muscle up approach, which is very innovative, structured way to do this that I'm actually using now in a challenge that he's running. So I wanted to mention that. Definitely check that out. Please, if you're watching this Ask Philip and you like the podcast, subscribe or follow to the podcast. Even if you don't want to listen to all the episodes. I know somebody mentioned like they love the long episodes, but not a big fan of the quick wits. And you can just delete those. But if you subscribe and follow, it'll get you notified, put them in your feed, and then you can download, delete if you want. And most importantly, it'll actually help with the algorithm so people can find the show. So that's going on today. Then we have another announcement is if you follow and subscribe to the podcast, what'll drop in your feed on the 19th is a story. I did a little elf story, kind of silly, heartwarming, whatever. And it's a normal episode, but it's shorter. It's maybe 20 minutes long, just to get everybody in the spirit. Whether you celebrate Christmas or not, it's a lot of fun. So check that out. I have that posted here just as an announcement. I'm going to remove last week's Ask Philip or the live video that was posted, and I'm going to get into today's right now. So for everyone watching, I know there's a little bit of confusion about this. We've had a lot of new members. We're over 500 people now. Thank you so much for your support, for telling people about it. Remember, you guys could also invite others. There's an invite function if you want to invite people to the group or let them know about it. But with everyone coming in, I wanted to just reconfirm how to get the most out of this group. So what I recommend doing, if you're watching this, go to guides, and then under start here, just watch these two videos, the first two, how to use the community and the Ask Philip thread. And that's what we're doing right now, the Ask Philip weekly Q&A. And that very short video will tell you exactly how to use it. I generally remind people sometimes in the private group chat called Ask Philip in Live Training. Or I'll post something about just to remind everyone the service is available. But what this is for is to ask me a specific contextual question, meaning not just a generic question of like, how much protein should people get? But like, hey, I am in this phase. I'm in a muscle building phase. Here are my numbers. Here's what I'm trying to do. Here are my goals. Here's how much protein I'm eating. I'm struggling with XYZ related to protein. What are your recommendations? And then I can answer specific. So it's like getting free coaching right here in the group. All right, so today we have a few really cool questions. We've got three, actually. The first one is from Nicola. Nicola's super active. She's in the 21-day challenge as well. She's lifting heavy. I love it. She's posted form videos, so really making a lot of progress, and it's showing. Her question is how to warm up. I'm curious how to warm up for heavy lifting. Do you suggest body weight or lightweight sets, band activation, sometimes hop on the rowing machine? What do you suggest? Okay. The most basic approach is if your body is warm, like it's the middle of summer and you don't really need to physically, temperature-wise, warm up your body, you can just warm up with the main lift. Like that's the most basic approach. Take the main lift, and as I'll show you here in a document that I have, and this is just a walkthrough of like the starting strength program for beginners, but it's the same approach applies no matter what you're doing. I still use this no matter what program I'm following. You take your lift, and let's say you are going to lift 185 pounds, whatever it is, deadlift, squat, press, bench, whatever. You can warm up in a ladder fashion. So you start light, and then you go heavier for each warm up, and you start to reduce the sets. Okay. And this is a very simple approach. There's a lot of ways to do this. You can do sets of 5 and then 3, 2, 1, and then you're at your working set. You can do a couple sets of 10 at the beginning, or even 15 or 20 if it's the empty bar and you just need to warm it up. And that's the most basic approach. Now, the slightly more complicated approach could be you do something like what Tony Perry mentioned for shoulders. You can hold a kettlebell up over your head to warm up the shoulders, right? Things like that. You don't have to do those. I would use the main lift. And then if you as an individual need some extra attention to an area to warm it up, just do something direct to warm it up. So I'll give you an example. If you want to squat, do a low bar squat. I sent this out to my private group. I don't think I've sent it out to the main group, but I might have. Anyway, my John Patrizzo, he was one of my physical therapists when I was recovering from my shoulder surgery recently. He sent me this video because I'm trying to get back to my low bar squat, and my shoulder is really tight still, mechanically somewhat limited. But he sent me this video that shows that, you know, if you're going to get under the low bar squat position, a very easy thing to do is just stretch into. Let's see if I can show the animation here. You're basically gradually stretching into the position as far as you can till you just hit the pain point or the stiffness point, and then you back off. And then you keep doing that until you get in there. It's basically stretching, right? It's a form of stretching, but you're doing it directly with the setup you need for that lift. Okay. So you may need that. The other thing you mentioned hopping on the rowing machine. I like if your body is a little bit colder, you know, like it's winter, or here I work over my garage. It's like 10 degrees colder than the rest of the house. I'll hop on an assault bike for not even 5 minutes, probably a minute and a half, you know, just a minute and a half, not even all out, just kind of medium intensity, get it going. I mean, you could do some jumping jacks, some box jumps, whatever, just to warm the body up. That way you just feel a little bit more loose and limber. And then lastly, as far as like band activation, again, you don't have to do all that unless it's specialized for the direct area that you need to warm up for the lift. So that would be my advice. Warm up with the lift, use targeted warm-ups as needed, and use a little bit of very light cardio if you need to warm up your body temperature. Okay. Now, this is I like this one. Okay. This is from Yasiris, who just recently joined the group and is in the challenge. Again, Yasiris, thank you for being so active and contributing and participating here. Her question is about bikini competitions. And I did post a question, like a hand raiser question in the group not long ago today, asking if anybody in the group currently or previously competed in bikini, because I know we have some. I know some of you by name, in fact, but I don't want to call you out. I'd like you to, you know, raise your hand. And the purpose of that is I want to be able to connect people who have that experience, because I'm going to say right now, I don't work with competitors. I haven't worked with them. Maybe I could in the future, but I'm not a competitor. I'm nowhere near where I would need to be to compete in a physique competition. I'm a 43-year-old guy who's come a long way in 4 years, who's learned a ton about this, and have been able to help a ton of people do the same and vastly improve their health, their fitness, their physique. Absolutely. Body recomposition, all that. But for me, it's about sustainability and the long game. It's not about the short game. I want you to think of a bikini competition. It's just bodybuilding is what it is. It's an extreme physique sport. It is not a lifestyle. It's an extreme physique sport with a temporary single day goal to pose, to have a particular amount of muscle definition and an extreme low level of body fat that you are not going to maintain. So I'm going to read your question, Yasiris, just in that context. And I still think I can provide some helpful information here for you. So I had a coach who competes frequently in bikini competitions. I thought about doing one, but then saw what she was doing. And this is extremely common. Okay. 2 hours of fasted cardio a day. She cut carbs to like 50 grams at the most. I think this would make me miserable. She said, there's no way I can recomp my body if I eat too many carbs. She said I can do 5 days, no carbs, and 2 with 150 or so Y. She also recommended a bunch of supplements, BCAAs, fat burners. I'm not down for that. Okay, I'm going to address these one by one, but just let's keep going. My goal is to recomp my body, build muscle, lose fat, right? It's what most of us want to do here. After having 7 pregnancies and 4 kids, congratulations. Awesome. That's amazing. I feel this is a big challenge for me. It is my biggest goal, and I want it to do it in a sustainable way. Is she right? I can't recomp my body without cutting carbs. Also, I was eating on a deficit for too long at 1,500 calories because that's what my coach insisted. I'm now eating 1,900 to 2,000 a day. I intend to stay here for at least 6 months before. Now, I see so many red flags here. I'm going to address them. So many red flags, and I think you are aware of them as well in the way you've worded the question. I'm tracking using MacroFactor the first time and love it. Absolutely. Everybody who does finds that it's a game changer. Here's before and after. No, this is not postpartum. My youngest baby's 8. This was 9 months ago at 146, and now I'm at 135. The weight doesn't bother me. I just want to look like I lift. I'm very active as I teach dance at my gym 3 times a week, and I hit 8 to 10,000 steps a day. You're an inspiration right now. I'm telling you, like, this is incredible. I mean, you obviously are working hard at it and already on the road to what you are trying to achieve. And it sounds like you're enjoying the process. So let's address these one by one. First of all, a coach who competes isn't always the best coach. I'm just going to say that. Like, a coach who's good at training and lifting and competing may not be the best coach. And so always take what anybody says with a grain of salt, right? You got to look at, have they worked with people who've achieved what you want to achieve? And then you can maybe talk to those other clients of theirs and find out what their experience was like, right? That's just, just like you can talk to my clients, I can refer you to clients, you can see other people in the group who've posted about their experience with me. I thought about doing one solid Tuesday. Okay, so 2 hours of fasted cardio a day, cutting carbs, da. Here's the thing. If you want to be in a bikini competition, you've got to get to an extreme low level of body fat, which means you're going to be on very, very low calories on a decent deficit, not a huge deficit, but you're going to be in a decent deficit for a long time. And as you get leaner and leaner, it's going to get harder and harder, and your body's probably going to adapt more and more, and your metabolism is going to keep dropping to where you are on such low calories, but you have to keep the protein high to maintain as much muscle mass as possible, that the carbs are going to be low. So when you say 50 grams of carbs, yeah, actually that sounds about right. Like, for most women at the calories you are, unless you've been training for years and have a lot more muscle mass, you're going to be down at really low calories, 50, 40, 30 grams of carbs, because you have to have that high level of protein, like around 1 gram per pound or maybe 0.8, and then some essential level of fat, at least 10 to 15 grams of fat, probably, maybe just 10 if you're really pushing it. And then the rest is carbs, which doesn't leave much for it. So you are, going to be on very low carb for a long time. Now, the low carbs have nothing to do with it. Like, in other words, the recomp of your body has nothing to do with carbs. It has to do with calories, right? And keeping the protein high. And so by definition, you only have so many carbs to work with. So the way she's communicating this is backward. Like, you can eat as many carbs as you want, as long as the calories are fine, and you can still recomp your body. But if the protein's low or the calories are too high, you can't. So you see why it's all interconnected. When she said do 5 days, no carbs, and 2 with 150 grams, she's talking about calorie cycling, which, again, the evidence and the experience shows you don't have to do that. Some people find that when they're on extremely low calories, they do that because the training days, you get a little more energy from those carbs. And it might make sense for you as an individual to say, okay, I'm just going to shift my carbs to those days. And then on the days I'm not training, have very little carbs or even less carbs. And that could work. For others, they find that doing that sacrifices the recovery days where you're trying to refill the glycogen and kind of stay sane between the training days. So again, it's very individually serious. Like, if somebody says you have to do this, that is my big red flag. Like, the fact that, and you said it later, because that's what my coach insisted. Oh, I don't insist anything for my clients. I work with my clients to say, will this work for you? Let's see what happens when you do that. Let's track everything, track your biofeedback and your results. And then if it works for you, let the data speak for itself. And if you want to do it and get that result, you know what to do. If you don't do it, you're not going to get that result. That's different from saying you have to do this. And I just want to point that out as far as coaching styles. So what else? The other thing, here's the big thing. Honestly, almost all or most of the female bikini competitors I've spoken to say they probably would never do it again. Some of them regret doing it. You see a prevalence of disordered eating and body dysmorphia. Okay. And I'm not saying it's going to happen to you, right? It depends on the person, but you see it a lot more in those communities, those populations. And for women, you tend to lose your menstrual cycle, or at least get it severely disrupted because of the massive hit to all of your reproductive hormones. So if any of that is more important to you than looking super lean for a competition and whatever you get out of that, then that's your answer, right? And you said it throughout your answer here, like you're kind of telling me you don't want to do this, right? So if you did want to do it, you'd have to be all in. You'd have to commit and say, okay, I'm doing this for a reason and I'm going to go all in and I'm going to take the trade-offs and sacrifices as a result. All right. So let's see. Did I answer anything else? So no, of course it's not sustainable. It's an extreme sport and it's a temporary thing, getting to a low level of body fat. And then when you come out of it, you have to recover quickly to get the hormones back. I can't recomp my body without cutting carbs. No, of course you can't. So now we talk about general recomp, which you're doing in the challenge right now. We're not even having you lose weight. You can still recomp without losing weight. But if you wanted to go in a fat loss phase, you and I can talk. We can talk about how to structure it, how long it might go, what the calories would look like, what the macros would look like. And I guarantee there's going to be carbs in there and it's going to be more than 50 grams, because if it's as low as 50 grams, that suggests that you're fairly low calories and probably too low that is sustainable generally. Okay. Generally, not always. It depends on the person. I intend to stay here for 6 months before deciding to cut that low ever again. So yeah, there you go. If you want to maintain and do a body recomp at maintenance, you definitely can. And you're working hard and training, which is the most important thing. So yeah, I hope I answered your question. I kind of rambled a little bit, but I think I covered the main points. Oh, here's another picture. Awesome. Yeah. Look at that. I mean, look at the definition. You're definitely progressing. So amazing. All right. So I hope that answered your question for you. Then we have, one more question from Jerry. So Jerry and I worked together on a fat loss phase, not long ago. And he was started from 250, went to 235, but also had a lot of changes to his diet and approach. He became more active. He walked more. It was a massive, improvement. When you think of 15 pounds, it may not sound like a lot, but when it's geared significantly toward body recomposition and health, you see the changes and his performance, even went up and everything else. So, and his resting heart rate went down and all that good stuff. So he said, when we started, he was 250, about 3,000 calories per day. And then we went into a deficit and it was a pretty big deficit for him, right? Or at least it seemed like a big deficit, because what he's implying is, oh, maybe he wasn't really at 3,000 calories, but let's ignore that for now. And then at the end, he had lost all the fat. He was still eating around 1,800 calories. Like there was a little bit of a dip in his metabolism, but not a huge amount. Now I'm eating 2,700 to 29 per day. So again, that's back up to where he started. And the weight is hanging steady around 235. My activity level is definitely lower than it was during the cut. Now, just caveat, is it higher than it was before we started? Because when we started, it was, I don't know, it was really low, right? And then we brought it way up. Now it might be a little bit down from that, but I suspect it's higher than it was before. My activity level is lower. My simple question is, how can this be? I'm eating the same amount of calories as when I was heavier, but my weight's remaining the same. My first thought is I was eating way more before we started. Okay, so when we started tracking, Jerry, if you remember, we spent several weeks tracking to understand that your metabolism was around that point. So I think your true metabolism at maintenance is around 2,900, 3,000 calories. It makes sense. I mean, you're a big guy. I might even suspect it's even higher than that. I think the weight loss from 250 to 235, it significantly increased your health. You probably actually are, I'm not going to say you gain muscle mass during the cut, but you've biased toward improved body composition. And you also ramped up your metabolism during the cut via the walking. So I think there's a net effect of your metabolism came down during the cut, it's recovered, and you have a little bit more activity. And I think they kind of wash out a little bit. I don't know if that's what Tony might have said that in his answer, right? But that's my suspicion, is that at 235 versus 250, the weight difference isn't really that big of a deal to cause a big drop in your metabolism, but your enhanced health, potentially extra muscle mass, and net higher activity overall. Like you may be moving more now than you used to, not even realizing it. A little more agile, a little more spry, is why your metabolism is about the same. And this is a success story. Like everybody watching this should be aware that this happens all the time, where you are able to lose weight and then continue eating at or more than you did when you were heavier weight, right? Which is incredible. It's kind of where we want to be, especially when it's because of, improved health and increased muscle mass. So There's never a simple answer, Jerry. I didn't even pull up your macro factor data, but if you sent it to me, I could take a quick look. Today in the challenge call, we're going to be looking at a couple of folks' macro factor data as well to see how some of this stuff interplays. But I think this has gone long enough for Ask Philip, but I really appreciate all the amazing questions. Please add more the next time Alan posts this afternoon. Add your questions for next week so I can answer them on next Friday's live. And I will see those in the call at 12 p.m. Eastern who are in the challenge. Other than that, have a fantastic Friday and a fantastic weekend. Have fun getting ready for the holidays if that's your thing. And I will talk to you soon.